The time is just gone 19 minutes past 9 a.m. now. About 2 weeks ago, we spoke with Every Forum, and a few days ago, we also spoke with Hanif Hendricks. And we're talking about the Western Cape now. There is a huge discussion and debate that is taking place in the Western Cape with regard to looking at the province in relation to the rest of the country. And there have been certain discussions, there have been certain reports with regards to the Western Cape seeking autonomy and looking at the province saying it is quite unique compared to the rest of the country. And this morning, we are talking with Phil Craig, who is the spokesperson for the Cape Independence Advocacy Group. And we've seen Hanif Hendricks, the party, the leader of the Jama-ah party, coming very, very strongly against this move, rejecting it, calling it a reinvention of apartheid. And just to get a response from the CIAG, we are now joined by Phil Craig. Phil, good morning to you. As always, thank you and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I appreciate the opportunity to come on and set the record straight after the sort of somewhat inflammatory comments that Hanif made.
Yes, obviously, he came out very, very strongly. I had the opportunity of doing the interview with him and, talking about going back to apartheid and reinventing apartheid. Just your thoughts, your response on the sentiment.
Sure. Okay. So look, I'm going to be fairly complete nonsense, and everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I found it quite an offensive statement because I think that's so contrary what we're trying to do. At the absolute heart of how our whole organization and our vision is non-racialism. In fact, one of the reasons that we want to try and get away from South Africa is so that we can genuinely have non-racialism, which is what we were promised in 1994 but never actually got. So the notion that this is somehow apartheid, and actually Hanif went further. He suggested it was going to be a white state where so-called colored people were going to be slaves. It is just an misrepresentation of the truth. We're pushing for Cape independence. We're pushing it on the basis of the democratic will of all of the people of the Western Cape. So that's entirely a non-racial basis for this. And actually, just the most basic, to go and look and see the stats. You go to Stats SA, you'll see that the Western Cape population is 46 coloured, 40% or 39% black, and 16% white. And we're voting for a referendum that would require 50% or more of people in the province to support Cape independence. So actually, regardless if that were our intention, which absolutely is not, it's contrary to everything we believe in, it wouldn't be physically possible. And actually, the dominant political so-called coloured community independence will. Sorry.
Well, I think we're obviously breaking up slightly. I'm hoping that we can get a better quality of sound. But let's just qualify the statement independence. Because, talking to Hanif Hendricks as well, we're talking about the Western Cape being a country separate to South Africa. So let's just qualify, what do you mean by independence?
So we mean that the Western Cape, the existing borders of the Western Cape, leaving the Republic of South Africa and becoming a new sovereign state. The working title is the Cape of Good Hope, because we like the hope part of it, but ultimately the name of the country and everything else will be the decision for the people who live there. But we're talking about creating a new sovereign state. We would no longer be part of South Africa. The Western Cape would be a country on its own.
But isn't this quite far-fetched? I mean, is this a pipe dream that you're trying to achieve? Because this is obviously clear, just looking at reality and where we are at this point in time. I mean, can this really happen?
Absolutely. Look, can it happen? It's certainly in terms of getting to a referendum. A referendum now is virtually inevitable. We are going to see a referendum on Cape Independence, and then it's going to come down to what the people of the Western Cape want first and foremost. A referendum in South Africa is non-binding, so a referendum would mandate the Western Cape government to negotiate with the South African government for our exit. But absolutely, it's a possibility, and I think it's just important that we understand the reasons why. First of all, whether Cape Independence is the solution or not, that's for the people of the Western Cape to decide. But since 1994, the majority of Western Cape voters have never ever had the years of ANC government, and the majority of Western Cape voters have never voted for the ANC. So we didn't vote this government in, and we have no way of ever voting this government out. We just the process. If you look at voting records for 30 years, there's a clear ideological divide and what the people in the rest of South Africa want. And all we're saying is that's fine, that's democracy, but then let the rest of South Africa have the government it wants, and let the Western Cape have the government that we want. And then we can neighbours, and we can build a country that addresses youth and crime, and housing, and we create the society that everybody was promised in 1990 all want to see.
Yes, I think obviously we want to just apologize. It does appear as if there is a signal strength problem, and you are breaking up intermittently, Phil. But let's talk about the referendum. What are the chances of this referendum taking place?
I would say, look, there's a big announcement coming tomorrow in this regard, but I would say a referendum on Cape Independence is now almost inevitable. It probably won't be a referendum that's just on Cape Independence. It'll be a referendum that discusses the various options, because I think Cape Independence forms a part of a bigger discussion. What we saw, we polled actually in July, and 89% of voters in the Western Cape feel that South Africa is going in the wrong direction. And 76% of Western Cape voters want the provincial government to give them more power and for the central government to have less power. And that is the debate that's going on. Do we want federalism? Do we want confederalism? Do we want independence? And that's a discussion to take place. And I think the referendum will talk about all of those issues together with who controls the police and who controls. So that's the big discussion that's going on. People are sick and tired of a central government that we didn't vote for, that is not serving the best interests of the Western Cape people. And Cape Independence forms a part of that discussion that says, how do we fix that? And the overwhelming majority of Western Cape voters want it to be fixed. They want more power for the Western Cape in whatever form that may take.
Yes, obviously the power issue is one, Craig, but we've also seen the response, and we've seen some senior people from within the Democratic Alliance, and we know that the Democratic Alliance is in governance in the Western Cape region, and they're basically talking about obviously opposing this move where you're looking at the Western Cape as a separate country from the rest of Africa. And I see there's a message that's come through on my screen where one of the listeners wants to know, is this not motivated by racism?
So look, let's go with the Democratic Alliance first and foremost. I think it's fair to say that the position of the Democratic Alliance at the moment is that they do not support Cape Independence. They support a different form of devolution of power. They are strongly in favour of devolving power from the central government to the provincial government. But at this point in time, they wouldn't want to go so far as Cape Independence. I do think the Democratic Alliance ultimately are going to support a referendum on the issue and allow the people of the Western Cape to decide for themselves. When it comes to your second issue, it's absolutely got nothing to do with racism. At the end of the day, obviously, I could just say it so many times. If you look and see who supports Cape Independence, there's an estimated 1.4 million voters in the Western Cape who currently support Cape Independence, a lot more who want a referendum. Of that 1.4 million, 50% are coloured, 17% are black, and 27% are white, all races. And our own organisation, our leadership team, has white people, has coloured people, has black people on the leadership team. This is not about racism. It's about racism and getting rid of a society that's actually been destroyed by race.
Yes, and just finally, looking at it from a timing perspective, when are you expected to hold this referendum?
Well, the legislation, so the right to hold the referendum exists and is in both the South African and the Western Cape constitutions. So the right exists, but the law that makes that details how it's carried out has never been updated from pre-1994. So there's now the DA have brought a private members bill before Parliament. It'll be in committee stage in November. So I suspect that law will fall into place somewhere in the middle of next year, and thereafter we would then be pushing very hard for a referendum. We formally requested a referendum, and I would expect to see that referendum taking place in about 18 months' time.
Well, Craig, we thank you for your time with us this morning on Solar Media on News and Views. All the best to you. Please take care.
You too, and thank you for having us on. Much appreciated.
Craig Smith with the spokesperson for the Cape Independence Advocacy Group, the CIAG, responding to the leader of the Jama-ah Party, Hanif Hendricks, but also looking at what their views are with regards to the Western Cape and what they want. And obviously, will it ever be possible where we would find the Western Cape a separate country from South Africa? Well, I have my reservations. The time is just gone at 9:30 a.m. and we come back. We still have got quite a bit to talk about. We'll be talking about the DA in Cape Town accused of trying to ban the Azan.